sport needs rules. Can you imagine a cricket team or a tennis tournament without rules? I mean, it'd be mayhem, wouldn't it? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm chairman of the Crufts Committee, and I'm there to meld a good team into a happy ship. Once a decision has been made, we all go along with it. If you feel strongly enough, you must ask for your dissent to be minuted. You mentioned Crufts, and you don't have to even say dog show. It is, of course, the show which most people, most of what I call GP, general public, know. Pretty well everybody has heard of Crufts. Now, may we move on? Yes?
It reads, the committee agreed that all exhibitors in the main ring should be advised not to sit. I think, Madam Chairman, it is much stronger than that. In fact, for many years they have been told it is not acceptable to sit or squat.
Well, then you would like the word advised to be told?
Yes.
Amended to told?
Yes, told it is not acceptable.
Yes. They should be told it is not acceptable
to sit or squat, please.
Or squat on the floor during judging.
Yes.
Has anybody else got a strong view? No? Dog showing is completely classless. I can't think of anything that it is more so, because when you're at a dog show, you know your fellow exhibitors by the quality and the style of dogs they show. You're not concerned. They could be a dustman, they could be a duke, and it doesn't matter one hoot.
This is champion Rise and Earth, Wind and Fire, Walter Ross Bosley. He's the son I never had. This was my world at one point. It was my life really, was my fishing. I wasn't content with fishing 2 days, then it was 3 days a week, and then it was 4 days. If I'd have carried on how I was going, it would have interfered with the marriage, and I think she would have been quite rightly have gone. The wife, obviously, she was showing the dogs first, and I was just the taxi driver. And at first it was interfering with my fishing. But the more I got involved with what she was doing, the more pleasure I was getting from what she was doing. So, needs must, and 2 years ago decided that was it. This was the only thing you can compare fishing to the dog show, was the ego aspect. Every time you caught a fish, I want to catch a bigger and a better fish. And with the dog showing, every time you get a win, you want a bigger and better win. But that's human nature. 10 years ago, the press made a big thing about Rottweilers and devil dogs and what have you. They don't tolerate fools gladly, I must admit. They can be standoffish to people who really are insincere. The hand wavers, the ones who'll go towards them with their hands and then take it away at the last moment. They've already won by doing that. They said, well, you're obviously frightened of me, and they'll play on that. Yes, the public has a bad perception of Rottweilers, and it's really down to responsible breeders to ensure we have no more mistakes. It only takes one more mistake, and it's one more mistake down the road to oblivion for the dog in this country.
It's nail-biting stuff, this. There is an absolutely unique atmosphere at Crufts. It's the biggest and I think the best dog show probably in the world.
My Bosley, he's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
Dim the lights, the dogs are spotlit.
You have to live with him to understand his little idiosyncrasies. He's the clown of the whole pack in the house.
He's coming over, it's the Welsh Terrier. Mike Stockman, step for the top, you got it right, Mike.
Next time, Bos. Could be us.
We moved here, and the day we moved in, it must have looked pretty awful because we had the whole of the front with removal vans and packages and kennels in pieces and
trailers and the caravan.
And one of two people who stayed to help, and I think they must have thought we were gypsies moving in or something, because the very same day we had somebody from the council round to see what we were doing, squatting or something. The house was bought so that we could really concentrate on the dogs, and I think that since we've moved here we've been able to give a lot more time to them, haven't we, because we haven't had so much house.
The house is more for the dogs than for us.
Come on, Lizzie! Come on, kids! Solomon! Solomon! They're not everybody's dog. They're quieter than most. Well, we've got quite a few dogs here, and they don't make a lot of noise.
No,
they're not noisy dogs.
Had we had a kennel of hounds or of terriers, I don't think we could have settled here.
No, we'd have needed to be way out in the country.
Go for it.
I think it's because they're quiet and reliable, really. And I like their looks, of course.
She hasn't a clue where the thing is. The temperament of the Clumber is completely fabulous. It's like no other dog. There's very, very little that makes a Clumber angry. And they're real stoics. The vet can inflict a lot of pain on a Clumber, and it doesn't react.
We've had our first Saint Bernard because of my husband, Jeff. Ever since he was a little kid, he wanted a saint. He goes around all over the world doing computer consultancy and comes home at weekends to go to dog shows. It's hard work. It's not the easiest breed to have, but it's a lot of fun. Here's 15 stone of killing machine. They are animals. They have a decent set of teeth on them. And if they went, you would not be able to control them. In order for these killing machines, these dogs, to live in your house, you have to have control. The thing is they like to be controlled. They like to have order in their life like children. My girls, the children, they love them. They love them. I think at times my girls can feel a little bit jealous because we go to a lot of shows during the summer. I don't put the dogs before the kids because at the end of the day, they're dogs. What can I say? You ask my kids, they might say something different.
To some people, I'm an obsessive middle-aged lady living in a house on the top of the hill, surrounded by dogs, who spends all her life going to dog shows and things like that. When I met Paul, my husband, he had 3 Pekingese because he used to have German Shepherds before that. And as he, work took him away, you couldn't really keep a whole kennel of German Shepherds about, so he thought he'd look for something smaller to have at home. And so when I met him, he had 3 Pekingese. Then it sort of became an obsession, I got more and more and more and more involved, not just in the breeding, the showing, the judging and everything else. So it's really down to me that we've got so many now, unfortunately. But I was very, very lucky to marry a man who could afford to keep me as a kept woman. I have, at this moment, 23 Pekingese, 12 Bolognese, 2 aged Griffons and a number of puppies. I've got collections of dogs, pictures of dogs, books of dogs, photos of dogs. Yes, I suppose I'm quite obsessive about them, really, when you look at it like that. Yes, I probably am a mad dog lady who lives on the top of a hill surrounded by lots of dogs, yeah.
Yours is coming. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3.
Paul and I never had any children by choice, and these were our family, and very much so. You can see I live with them all around me anyhow, and I talk to them like that all the time. They all have little names, and we all have little conversation. One day one was going to horrify me and talk back to me, isn't it? And that's going to be the end, yeah. I really know I've gone funny then, yeah.
There's always something, isn't there, Matt? To poop or scoop? Anybody else pooped?
Stubborn. Beautiful. Pig-headed. And glamorous. I mean, I know a lot of people who don't have a lot of experience of Pekingese say, oh, those ugly, snuffly, flat-faced little... But to me, that's all the joy of them, those lovely, you know, big fat cheeks and the black faces and the big eyes and everything. I just think they're so lovely. I mean, they're lovely to look at as well as independent little people. In the old days, Pekingese were really only the dogs of the wealthy, usually older ladies, because they were the wealthy ones and had the time to go to shows and look after them and things like that. Now Pekingese owners are very varied, right across the scale. I mean, we have all sorts of different people in the breed. I think Pekingese, because of their coat and their glamour and the big show-off, they do tend to attract sort of theatrical and people like that. I mean, we've got two lovely boys who've been in the breed about 5 years now, who are actually opera singers, come producers and directors of musicals. And they bought their first Pekingese from me, and they're really, really keen.
I met Stephen in 1981 when we were doing Strauss's Der Fledermaus. He was playing Eisenstein and I was playing Alfred. And then the following year I directed Desert Song, and the president of that society had a Pekingese called Janie, and I decided then that I had to have a Pekingese, and that's how it all started to evolve. So the music is mixed in with the showing of the dogs, and obviously the dogs became eventually, if there was a show, particularly the Ballads of Wimpole Street, our dogs were on loan quite frequently with that, and that's how we've sort of got into dogs as much as we have now.
If I loved you time and again, I would try to say, oh.
When I rang first of all to buy a dog, we had many refusals because we lived in the centre of London. Lots of breeders were very apprehensive about their dogs coming to live in a flat. So we rang the Kennel Club, and we were told that Cavaliers would be ideal. For 8 or 9 years we showed Cavaliers and bred Cavaliers. But we've shown more with the Peaks than we did the Cavaliers. Of course, the whole business of showing dogs and breeding has just snowballed.
I let my golden chances pass me by. How I let you if I love you.
I think we were most fortunate in meeting Liz, and I think she is, I would consider her a doyen of the breed, and I've been very lucky in having her as my mentor.
Which is really very sensible. Right, girls and boys, it's time for out. Funny, I never thought at my age I would sort of be a mentor or a doyen of the breed or all these things people say. But now I suppose because of the 30 years I've been in dogs, I find people, you know, ring you up and say, well, you tell us what to do, or how do we do this? And I like telling them because I feel, well, it's not just for them, it's for the good of the breed or the good of that particular dog. If you can tell them what to do there and then, I mean, you could save, I don't know, you could save a dog's sight, you know, things like that. Without being big-headed, it's nice to think, well, you know, this is these people's interest. I've got the experience, they want to start. I'm keen for people to come into breeds because I think, you know, if you don't have new people coming into anything, the whole thing will die, won't it?